Welcome. In this episode, we're unraveling the comedy action film Game Night. Join us as we dissect the plot twists, relive the hilarious moments, and explore the movie's unique blend of comedy and mystery. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated. Let's dive in. The movie opens with a pub trivia contest. When the same question is properly answered by the two opposing teams' most competitive players, Max and Annie, they cross paths. The two begin dating as they begin defeating their friends during their game nights. Max then proposes to Annie during a game of charades, and the two subsequently marry and compete against one another in a dance game. Currently, Max and Annie are attempting to start a family. However, their visit to Dr. Chin reveals that they're encountering difficulties in conceiving, potentially due to Max's recent stress. Annie deduces that Max's anxiety is linked to the imminent arrival of his accomplished older brother, Brooks, who has a history of overshadowing Max throughout their shared lives. Max and Annie arrive home to make arrangements for their upcoming game night. They encounter their peculiar neighbor Gary, who used to be part of their game nights alongside his now divorced wife, Debbie. Gary's strange and bothersome behavior has led everyone to view him with discomfort, leaving his dog Bastion as his sole companion. Despite Gary's observation of their preparations for a game night, Max and Annie deny it, hoping to avoid inviting him over. Later that night, the couple's friends gathered at their place. They stealthily enter through the windows as instructed by Max and Annie to keep their game night hidden from Gary. The group includes childhood sweethearts Kevin and Michelle, as well as Ryan, who consistently brings less intelligent dates, leading to his consistent losing streak. However, their efforts are thwarted when Brooks arrives in a Stingray, Max's dream car, making it evident to Gary that they lied. When Brooks finally joins the game, he takes over it by relating to the group a humiliating incident from Max's youth, in which he allegedly attempted to blow himself up. As a result, Max loses, and Annie also loses. Brooks then invites everyone to his place for the next game night. Annie becomes upset, convinced that Brooks is intentionally undermining Max and jeopardizing their chance to conceive. She stands by Max as they decide to confront Brooks and outplay him at the upcoming game night. Everyone turns up at Brooks' pretty, gorgeous home for the next game night. Sarah is a new lady that Ryan has brought, since she is substantially wiser than all the previous females he has brought. The evening kicks off with a drinking game of Never Have I Ever, orchestrated by Brooks. When the topic of having slept with a celebrity arises, Michelle takes a drink. This revelation leaves Kevin feeling insecure, as he had been unaware of this aspect of Michelle's past throughout their entire relationship. A while later, Agent Henderson arrives at the house, carrying FBI files designed as game clues that will lead them on a hunt for supposed kidnappers. The ultimate prize, Brooks' Stingray, heightens Max's motivation to win. However, real kidnappers intrude, incapacitating Henderson and attacking Brooks. As the struggle unfolds throughout the house, the group remains under the impression that it's part of the game. Eventually, Brooks is captured, and the team examines the dossiers to decipher the clues. Max and Annie decipher their clue and leave to pursue it, while Sarah manages to establish contact with the creators of the game, allowing her and Ryan to gain an advantage. In the meantime, Kevin and Michelle find themselves trapped in Brooks' office as Ryan leaves them behind upon discovering a clue. Kevin attempts to ascend through the ceiling above a stack of boxes, inadvertently triggering a domino effect that opens the door. Max and Annie follow the trail to a bar, with Annie unwittingly carrying a real gun that had fallen from Brooks' pocket earlier. Mistaking it for a prop, they enter the bar and locate Brooks in a back room. Holding the bar's patrons at gunpoint, they try to reach Brooks. Upon finding him, Brooks reveals that none of this is part of the game and that he's genuinely in grave danger from dangerous individuals. Annie carelessly plays with the gun, unintentionally firing a real shot that hits Max in the arm, causing severe bleeding. As the adversaries begin to breach the bar, Max, Annie, and Brooks make a hasty escape. While driving away, Brooks confesses that his apparent success didn't result from Wall Street dealings, but rather from smuggling operations. He reveals having stolen a Fabergé egg from a criminal named the Bulgarian and sold it to someone named Marlon Freeman. Pursued by the villains, Max and Annie's car becomes their target. Brooks selflessly leaps from the car, allowing Max and Annie to flee while he gets recaptured. Ryan and Sarah proceed to the publishing company and encounter Glenda, who has just participated in a murder mystery party as a corpse, causing a startled reaction from the duo. In order to obtain the next clue, they're obliged to offer Glenda a bribe. Meanwhile, the true kidnappers arrive at Brooks' residence, prompting Kevin and Michelle to recognize the reality of the situation. Upon discovering the truth, they reach out to Ryan and Sarah to get in touch and share information. Max and Annie make a pit stop to get some supplies so that Annie can treat Max's gunshot wound. She ends up cutting into his bone, and the two of them start to vomit uncontrollably. Eventually, they come to the realization that the bullet had actually exited Max's arm earlier on. The group gathers at Gary's house, recognizing his position as a cop and assuming he has access to a computer containing information about the aliases mentioned by Brooks. They find themselves compelled to play Jenga with Gary while Max heads to his office to utilize the computer. The office is adorned with relics from Gary and Debbie's marriage. On the computer, he discovers that Marlon Freeman is actually a wealthy individual named Donald Anderton, while the Bulgarian remains at large. During this time, Bastian, Gary's dog, enters the room and inadvertently becomes splattered with blood from Max's arm. Max's attempts to clean the dog and the carpet only worsen the situation. He then gathers the group to leave Gary's house. The kidnappers contact Max, issuing a warning that Brooks' life will be terminated in under an hour unless they provide the egg. The group arrives at Anderton's residence to locate the Fabergé egg. Unbeknownst to them, Anderton is conducting an underground fight club in the basement. Ryan and Sarah observe the fights while the others search for the egg. Amid their search, Michelle reluctantly reveals the truth to Kevin. The celebrity she supposedly slept with was Denzel Washington. She shares the story and presents a photo as evidence. However, Kevin discloses that it wasn't Denzel, but rather a lookalike. Meanwhile, Max and Annie discuss the topic of having a child, which seems less appealing to Max. Annie deduces that Max's hesitation is rooted in his desire to be more like Brooks. Ryan identifies the egg within a vault and makes a move to retrieve it, while the rest of the group is engrossed in watching the fight. However, he gets noticed and is compelled to flee with the egg. Pursued by Anderton's guards, the group engages in a chaotic chase throughout the house while safeguarding the egg. After a series of tense moments, they successfully secure the egg and make their exit from the house. At the designated bridge meeting point with the kidnappers, Kevin abruptly brakes, causing the egg to shatter against a dashboard. Inside the broken egg, the group discovers a list of people under witness protection. Approaching the kidnappers with the list, they are ordered to the ground. While the kidnappers converse with their employer, Brooks takes the opportunity to apologize to Max for his behavior and dishonesty, revealing that the keys to the Stingray are in his jacket pocket. Amidst a tense situation, Gary arrives unexpectedly and shoots the kidnappers. His suspicions were aroused by the group's peculiar behavior throughout the night. One of the kidnappers retaliates by shooting Gary, leading Max and Annie to assist him until Max notices a blood capsule falling from Gary's mouth. Gary confesses that he orchestrated the events to regain his position on the group's game nights. When the group hands him the WITSEC list, Gary denies involvement in that scheme. Suddenly, the Bulgarian emerges alongside his bodyguard and fatally shoots Gary. Brooks swallows the list, leading the villains to seize Brooks and depart via their jet. Max and Annie rush to Brooks' residence to get the Stingray and get to the jet. At the jet's departure, Max takes action, damaging its wheels, leading to a forced landing. The Bulgarian's bodyguard pursues Max and Annie. While Annie attempts to divert the guard's attention, Max embarks on rescuing Brooks. Max confronts the Bulgarian, and as the tension escalates, the jet's turbines begin to operate, causing the guard to be sucked in and torn apart. Utilizing a fire extinguisher, Annie incapacitates the Bulgarian, allowing them to rescue Brooks. Brooks playfully pretends this situation is also part of the game, only to reveal he's joking. 3 months later, the group reunites at Brooks' residence for another game night as he serves a 3-year house arrest term. He claims that it's not all terrible since he made $3 million selling the WITSEC list on the black market and made $20,000 per tip-off of the individuals on the list. Even though Gary has joined the club, he is still bad at the games. The gang engages in a game of Pictionary, during which Annie creatively unveils her pregnancy to Max. Their emotional moment of embrace is met with congratulations from their friends. The scene transitions outside, where 2 masked individuals brandishing guns prepare to infiltrate the house. In the closing credits, a thorough depiction unfolds of Gary's scheme to manipulate Brooks' game night. Subsequently, after the credits, a scene showcases the individual Michelle mistakenly identified as Denzel encountering a new woman, Debbie. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more cinematic adventures.